Hello and welcome to episode 34 of Tall Guy Talks Travel with Rick Doherty. Of course, I am your host, Rick Doherty. On today's show, two of my best friends are going to be joining me to discuss two fantastic topics. A little later in the episode, Sarah from Seattle will quickly ask me about my recent annual pass holder preview for Remy's Ratatouille adventure in Epcot's World Showcase at Walt Disney World. Not only did I ride the new attraction in the France Pavilion, but I ate at the crepe restaurant that will be officially opening alongside the ride on October 1st. Before that, however, Jeff, a Walt Disney World cast member and the creator of the blog Magical Pursuit, will be here to talk about some of the best things to do on property at WDW without using a park ticket. This is a great topic, especially if you like to spread out 1 or 2 rest days during your vacation. The resort has so much more to offer than just theme parks. Of course, I am an authorized Disney vacation planner, and I would love to help you plan your next Walt Disney World vacation. My services are always 100% free to you, and just $200 down can lock in your next trip. Contact me at rick@eartotheretravel.com, rick@eartotheretravel.com, or 727-507-3123, 727-507-3123 for blogs, live streams, pictures, giveaways, and videos from the theme parks and other travel destinations. Visit me on social media, facebook.com/eartothererick, twitter.com/rick_ear, Instagram.com/RickEar2there, and Twitter.com/TGTT podcast. Now let's welcome Jeff to the show. Thanks for joining me, sir.
A pleasure as always, sir.
Today, I think we have a really good topic for everybody because it is very common when I'm helping one of my clients plan their Walt Disney World vacation that they want to take 1 or possibly 2 off days in the middle of their vacation where they do not spend any time in a theme park. It is definitely a way to save a little bit of money on a Walt Disney World vacation. You don't have to buy park tickets every day of your trip, but also there's so much more to Walt Disney World than just theme parks. The theme parks are great. We love them. We'll probably be talking about them again next week. But until then, there's still a lot to do outside of the theme parks, and Jeff and I are just going to talk about some of those options. I know anytime you're doing this topic, you have to start at Disney Springs because it is what everybody thinks of when it comes to Disney not in the theme parks. So why don't you tell people a little bit about Disney Springs if they don't know anything about it going into this?
Sure. So picture Disney Springs as kind of the way I put it is an outlet mall. So outlet malls are usually all outside. You walk around, you browse, there's restaurants, there's everything you need to like do a day shopping. That's Disney Springs, but it's Disney Springs. So you got your high-end stuff, you got your fancy restaurants, you have a giant Disney store, you have an Art of Disney store there, you have a pin trading store. You have your regular stores. You have a Uniqlo, which is a kind of on the cheaper side of t-shirts and hats, and it's like Disney license, so you can get things there that you won't get on Disney property regularly. You have your Harley Davidson, just all kinds of regular stores. Lego store is fantastic, but also the Disney side. So one thing I tell people is that make Disney Springs like your first day or your last day there. Buy all your souvenirs that you can find here, and then you don't have to carry them around parks. You bought all this stuff at World of Disney. Take it home back to your resort, your hotel, whatever, and just don't worry about souvenirs the rest of the days.
I definitely recommend doing that at the beginning of your trip because you're going to want to get generic stuff at World of Disney that you will probably see a number of times in the parks, and you don't want to be carrying them around the parks. But if you don't see something at World of Disney and you see it in the parks and you want it, then get it. That's why I suggest World of Disney at the beginning of your trip. So, Jeff, I know one of your favorite things at Disney Springs, and they also have some of these stores in the parks as well, and you love to visit them there, but that's Art of Disney. I love the one at Disney Springs as well. It's almost like having an art gallery where you can go and look at all this fantastic Disney art. And you don't have to buy it. Like, you can just walk around shopping, and it's almost like visiting a gallery. Now, you can also get some really, really unique pieces. So I would definitely recommend doing that. It's a chance at a really unique souvenir from your trip.
I completely agree with you. Because of how rare these things, that some of the things are in this store, I go quite often. I live 15 minutes away. You never know what you're going to find in these stores. They have one section that is drawings done by Disney artists, and it's just of characters. And it doesn't tell you which characters they are. You don't know. You don't know which artist is drawing them. I have 2, 3, 4, 5 in my room, all of Roger and Jessica Rabbit, my favorite movie. How often do you see their stuff in the stores? Like, literally never. But I found it on a day. I found one on one day, one on another day, just all spread out. You can build up a collection. Every time you come, every day you come, something different in the store. They sell limited edition items there as well. Like, they made the park designer collection Mickey ears that were radio. Well, it was like a radio head. It was Mickey's face, but like the ears were speakers, and in the middle of the ears it says on air. They were fancy. I have a friend who works in radio. She wants them. I go down to Disney Springs and I go, I'd like to pick them up. So I'm looking around. I try to find them. They're in the art store. I go in the art store. I go to make the purchase, and the person goes, do you want the signed ones or no? And I go, signed ones? Yeah, the guy who voiced Mickey was here signing them just a couple hours ago. I go, well, how much more does that cost? Because I know how Disney works. And she goes, nothing. They're just, these are the ones we have. And I go, yes, I'll take a signed copy. So I got my friend a signed copy of the fancy ears, signed by the guy who does Mickey Mouse's voice now. You just don't know what you're going to find when you walk into that store. I completely recommend it. Like, to people who live nearby, go every time you go to Disney Springs.
When Jeff talks about the artists who will hand draw pictures on location, you can actually request different pictures. There's a binder. I guess it's on computer now, actually. I'm old enough to remember when it was in a binder. But you can pick through a number of different base pictures. Jeff loves Who Framed Roger Rabbit, so he has Jessica Rabbit and Roger Rabbit all over the place. You can't find them a lot in stores throughout Walt Disney World. If you like a rare character, you're going to want to get one of these pictures. I know one of them that I'm thinking about getting in the future has all 3 of Merida's brothers from Brave when they turn into bears. That's one I would really like. They have an awesome one of Megara from Hercules. Megara is sorely underrepresented in the parks. However, I do think that is going to change if the rumors of a live-action Hercules do come to fruition. Robin Hood. Some of these other older movies that you don't see a lot of stuff in the parks, you can get artwork of those movies. Jeff and I, now I know we're talking about outside of the parks, but we were at the Art of Disney recently in Epcot, and there was a painting for the Rocketeer.
Yeah, it was the Rocketeer standing there with, like, he was holding a giant flagpole that had the American flag behind him, and it was such a cool image because I told Rick at the time, I was like, how often do you see Rocketeer stuff anywhere on property? Not just in one location, or there's no Rocketeer ride, there's no Rocketeer land. No one talks about the Rocketeer even. And here in the Art of Disney store in Epcot, in the back corner, is this beautiful giant, I think it was like $4,000 painting of the Rocketeer. Now, of course, it's pricey, but that is hardcore original art. You are not going to find that everywhere. And if you're a giant Rocketeer fan, like I always tell people, it's weird to be a fan of something that's not quite popular in the current times. If you're a Mickey Mouse fan, you walk into the park and you can buy a Mickey Mouse thing everywhere you go. But when you're a fan of something rare like that and you walk in and you see it, your heart just swells because finally your thing has found. You can finally see it. So even if you're not going to buy it, You're a Rocketeer fan and you walk into that store, you're going to feel an emotion because now you're seeing your thing. It's quite rare. It's quite special.
Absolutely. So when you're in Disney Springs, make sure to visit the Art of Disney store. Maybe you don't buy anything, but maybe, like Jeff said, you see that thing from your movie. You see that thing of your character, and it just gives you that warm feeling inside and really helps your vacation.
I walk in there and I feel different because one of the things that they have for sale that is super expensive is a paycheck signed by Walt Disney. A paycheck to someone. I can't remember who the person was, but they have that type of memorabilia as well. As you're standing there a glass pane away from the man who created everything that surrounds you. It's quite a special moment that you just don't they don't have that history everywhere. And it's just hanging on a wall in the Art of Disney store.
It's actually even better than a paycheck. It is a check that he wrote out for one of his relatives. I think it might have been one of his nieces or nephews. And it was $50 as a Merry Christmas gift. So Walt was doling out some serious cash because it had the year that he wrote this check. $50 for Christmas at that time. It would have been nice to be related to the Big Cheese. That's all I'm saying. So definitely check out that store. It is really fantastic. But the best thing about Disney Springs is the eating. So we can't talk about Disney Springs without talking about Jeff's favorite restaurant on property. It is also one of my 3 or 4 favorite restaurants on property. Take it away, man.
It would be Raglan Road. It is a amazing experience to just walk in there and hear this. For me personally, it's not music I listen to all the time. It's not music I listen to some of the time, but it's still upbeat, it's happy, it's joyous. There's people on stage in front of you dancing, and then they deliver the most glorious food imaginable to you. And for me personally, the most glorious drink in the world, Guinness. I don't know what it is because it's not in my everyday life. I'm not eating Irish food all the time. I'm not in that mode. But there is something about this restaurant that just takes it and elevates it and just makes it such a fun experience that for the past 2 years, I have all of Disney at my disposal. That's the place I've gone for my birthday the past 2 years.
And of course, I am Irish, so Raglan Road just absolutely speaks to me. It has a local Irish pub feel to it, but it's still Disney quality. So it's not like run down like a local bar. It still feels almost like Cheers. Like, you know, when you watch Cheers and it was a really, really nice bar, but it was still that local bar and it has locals. And I'll tell you this, even though there are so many vacationers at Raglan Road, if you go a couple times, you'll start to notice there are regulars there. And you can tell it has a different vibe than a lot of Disney stuff because it does attract more locals than some of the other things at Disney.
Going with what Rick says here, when you live here, you get it. You get the Disney thing. You've done it before. You've done your Be Our Guest. You've done it, and you don't have to do it again. So you're just looking for a good meal out. You're not looking for all the pomp and circumstance of a hard Disney character meal thing like that. So you go to a place that you just want good food. You just want to just sit down and relax. So you've explored your area around you. You go to Disney Springs sometimes, you go other places other times, but you find the place that you like that doesn't have a mouse stamped on it. And Raglan Road is that place for me. Just you can go here, you know you're going to get a good meal, you know you're going to have a good time and not have to worry about anything else. It's still a home away from home type atmosphere.
And I guarantee you we can and probably will do an entire episode on Disney Springs sometime. Just a few other locations that I want to mention. Chef Art Smith's Homecoming is a restaurant that is loved by so many people. If you're just really looking to sit down and pound down some food and have one of those splurge on vacation meals where you just eat and eat and eat, Chef Art Smith's Homecoming is definitely one you are going to want to check out on your trip. Aaron McKenna's Bakery NYC. This is completely vegan and gluten-free desserts. I know a lot of people who have gluten allergies or can't have gluten, or with their diets, they don't want to have gluten. And of course, I'm a vegetarian. I know a lot of vegan people as well. This is a great option for people like that. And they sell the most unique and original thing. And I don't know why people didn't think of this before. They sell just the cupcake top. If you don't want the whole cupcake, they sell you just the top, because that's all you want anyway. Polite Pig has some really good sides. I would recommend that as well.
I would recommend going to the Coke store. It's an interesting experience because they have Coke stuff, they have Coke and Disney kind of meshed stuff, but the on the top of the building, you can look out and look at all of the Disney Springs stuff that's right there. But there's a bar. You can get alcoholic mixed drinks with like fresh out of the tap Coke. You could get Coke floats and things like that, but also the flavors around the world. My personal recommendation, try the Beverly. It's delicious.
In the interest of full disclosure, the Beverly is not delicious. I understand what Jeff is trying to do. He's trying to trick you into having the Beverly and expecting something that tastes good, because you will be sorely disappointed. But in the interest of always giving you good information, I felt I just had to break in and do that. There's a lot more to do at Disney Springs. Like I said, we'll do an episode just about Disney Springs someday, maybe even multiple episodes, because there's so much to do there. But I also think when you have your off day on a Walt Disney World vacation, hit the pool at your resort, do some of that stuff. But resort hopping is something that I think a lot of us locals like to do. And sometimes it's something that people like to do on their vacations. Maybe you can only afford to stay at Pop Century or All-Star Movies, and you're getting a great experience out of those resorts. I'm not putting them down at all. I love All-Star Movies. I love Pop Century. They definitely serve their purpose. But if you want to head to some of these other resorts, you can do that. Now, you can't stay at All-Star Movies and use the Polynesian's pool. You can't do that. But you can walk around the Polynesian, you can eat in their quick service location, and basically, getting back to Disney Springs, you can use that as your home base. Take the bus from your resort to Disney Springs, and then from Disney Springs, you can take a bus to any of the resorts throughout Walt Disney World property. What are some of your favorite resorts to visit, Jeff?
To go along with this, one thing I want to say is that the Disney Imagineers didn't stop at the parks. The Disney Imagineers worked everywhere. So your resorts, they have a theme as well. There's a story behind the resorts. There's interesting things there. So like Pop Century is one of my favorite resorts because there's a giant Roger Rabbit there. And to walk around and take pictures and get, find the right lighting and just do all this stuff at all the resorts. Art of Animation. Walk around there. There's some theming that rivals what's in like Animal Kingdom. Like there's a section where they have the Lion King where you can't tell you're at a resort. There's tree cover, there's the statues, there's all this stuff there that is very fun to experience that costs nothing because you just ended up at one of the resorts. I love the Contemporary. One thing I was going to add to the whole story is that just do the transportation. I love riding the monorail. I could ride the monorail just by itself as a ride. And going through the Contemporary is just one of the coolest things in the world. I like the Riviera. One thing I talk about on my blog, I went to the Riviera not knowing anything about the Riviera, just that it was a newer DVC resort. We get there, we take the Skyliner, we get there, we look around. Oh, there's a cool paintings, there's cool arches. We go inside, we go outside. Oh, hidden Mickeys. Oh, cool. Take pictures, take pictures. I go inside, round the corner, and there's this seating area that is filled with artifacts of Walt's trip to the French Riviera. I'm a glass pane away from one of his hats. I'm seeing pictures. I'm seeing books that he brought back that have Topolino written on them because that's the name for Little Mouse. That's Mickey Mouse's name over in Italy, I believe it is. Like, I walk into this room expecting nothing, and there's just Disney history everywhere. You don't know what you're going to expect. This is just a seating area in one of the resorts. So take the time to. A lot of the resorts are on busy transportation lines, so you can go from one to the other to the other to the other. There was a time where I didn't have the means to get into the parks, and so me and my friend after work we needed to walk, we needed to get out of the house, and we'd go and go hit the Riviera, Pop Century, Art of Animation. Do that in an afternoon, you can knock that out. Caribbean Beach is the other one that's kind of on that line there. And just walk up and down, take pictures, enjoy the sights, hear people yelling and running around, and just there's so much more to this area than just the parks.
That actually reminds me of a recent episode where Sarah from Seattle and I were talking about how do you pick the resort you are going to stay at on your Walt Disney World vacation, because that is something that a lot of people don't consider. How do you pick from all these different resorts? And one of the things I said about Caribbean Beach is you get a nice hotel at a moderate price, so you're not paying for the Riviera, but you're also getting a little bit more quality than like Pop Century, but you can just walk right over to the Riviera. You can't use their pool. That's basically the only limitation you have, and then you can go to their coffee shop, which is really, really good. And you can drink that coffee in the room Jeff was talking about just a few minutes ago. There are a lot of different things that you can do at these resorts, and they don't cost you a dime. Or maybe you're going to have to buy your coffee, but you're going to buy your coffee if you go to a Starbucks off property. So some of these things definitely are attractive options for you.
One thing I wanted to add to that is, so I bought a laptop to work on my blog. One of the ideas I had was I do a lot of my writing is just in my head. It's not because of an experience. It's like top 3 lists and things like that. Just sitting down and just writing, thinking and writing. And one of the things I thought about was, where on Disney property could I write? One of the places that just blew my mind was Wilderness Lodge. Just go to Wilderness Lodge and spend any amount of time and you'll get it. You'll understand. And it hits colder temperatures down here. I'm not saying cold temperatures, but like November, walk to Wilderness Lodge, get there somehow, and open up your laptop and you just sit and you just feel so cozy. It's weird how not the ambient air temperature, but the surroundings make you feel all nice and warm, and you just go up to the second floor, find one of those big cushy chairs, and you just sit back and relax and just kind of tune the world out while being at one of the largest tourist destinations in the world. You feel like you're, at a cabin and just cuddled up in front of a fire. It's one of the fantastic experiences that, again, like Rick said, costs you nothing to just, you need to get some work done, go to a quiet place. Here's one to go.
Disney's Wilderness Lodge is my favorite resort at Walt Disney World, and one of the reasons is the Carolwood Pacific Room. And this is a room on the Boulder Ridge section of Wilderness Lodge. This is more the DVC, the Disney Vacation Club section of the resort. Walk over there and see the Carolwood Pacific Room, which is dedicated to Walt's love of trains. The iconic nature of the Disneyland Railroad, the Walt Disney World Railroad at the Magic Kingdom. When you think of Walt Disney World, when you think of Walt Disney, you think of trains. It is a huge part of the entire experience, whether it be at Disneyland, Walt Disney World. Trains are just ever present. Transportation is ever present, because that was definitely one of Walt's passions. And this room is completely dedicated to it. And I'm going to tell you the truth. Jeff did not know about this until I told him about it today. And I just watched his face as he looked it up online and how excited he is now to see it. So I think we're definitely going to have to do this as sort of a bro trip coming up here.
Absolutely. Full disclosure, I am a history major. History is a thing that I care about, and it's very segmented. It's not just all history of everything. It's things that I care about. So when I get into something, I want to know the history of it, and I want to learn all the bits and pieces of it. So I have Disney history podcasts that talk about when this area was a swamp and what Walt and Roy were able to accomplish in this area, in this time frame. Because of that, I'm obviously aware of Walton trains. It's a big deal. I mean, I think one of the cars or one of the trains is named after his wife. Like it is such a huge deal to Walt Disney the human. He told me about it, and I'm just like scrolled a couple times, and then there's a picture of like model trains, and then there's a picture of Walt Disney holding that exact model train, and I just like lost my mind. Like I have to go and take pictures and see all of this. So I'm definitely in for a trip.
In the Carolwood Pacific Room, there's a fireplace. In the main lobby of Disney's Wilderness Lodge, there is a gigantic fireplace. This is such a cozy resort. It feels like home. You feel like you're in the Pacific Northwest and you're in a swamp in Florida. It is incredible how well they themed this resort, and the food is fantastic. We're talking about Whispering Canyon Cafe, all you care to enjoy, and that food is really, really good. Roaring Fork is one of the most underrated quick service locations on property. Geyser Point is a really cool bar. If you like to just sit by the water and have a drink, check out Geyser Point. Could not agree with Jeff anymore about heading to Wilderness Lodge and seeing that. Maybe even heading over to Fort Wilderness, where they have animals. They have more restaurants over there as well. And around the holidays, people will go to Fort Wilderness and they will decorate their campsites with all kinds of different decorations. And you can actually rent a golf cart and go around during the holiday season or the Halloween season and see all of the decorations that people put around their campsites. These people go all out on these celebrations, and it's really, really cool to see. Now, will this cost you a little money? Yes, but it is something that you can do that's not in a theme park, and the amount of money that you're going to spend on that golf cart pales in comparison to taking your family and going to the theme park for the day. Also at Fort Wilderness, something really interesting to give a try is archery lessons. And I think Jeff and I are going to actually try to do this at some point.
Sure, I'm willing. I'm willing and able. It's one of those things where I believe the thing that we all know is that the Disney touch changes how things are. So even something as foreign to me as archery lessons, run by cast members with the Disney touch and the Disney style, it could be a lot of fun and informative. And, like I say, any time spent on property is a good time.
And another thing Jeff and I have talked about doing sometime in the near future, and I think we just need to nail down a date to do this, is mini golf. There are a couple mini golf locations throughout Walt Disney World. That is also another option of something to do on property that is not in one of the theme parks. But when talking about the mini golf, I cannot stress this enough. It's like $14 or $15 for an adult to do this. That is nothing in Disney money. That's 2 churros, and you're getting a mini golf experience.
Yeah, definitely. Like I said before, the Imagineers don't just stop at the parks. So the 2 that I'm looking at here on the website, I just wanted to look it up. It's called Fantasia Gardens and Fantasia Fairways. And I mean, they have these giant stone statues. Here's one of Mickey and as Sorcerer Mickey. There's the brooms or mops that with the buckets in it. I mean, it's going to be mini golf. We're going to have fun because it's mini golf, but it's also themed and care was put into this, and it's the Disney touch. It's why we go to Disney as opposed to other places. I think it'll be a really fun time, and we'll get some good pictures, and bare minimum, we're getting a story out of it.
And basically, that's all we want. And then when you're talking about resort hopping, when you're talking about not being in the theme parks, I think it's important to remember that a lot of these resorts have restaurants. They might have sit-down restaurants. Maybe they only have food courts, or maybe they have quick service locations. But there are a lot of great places to eat throughout the resorts at Walt Disney World. So you don't always have to get that meal in a park. Maybe you are in a park and it would serve you best to leave the park and go to one of the resorts. Magic Kingdom, I'm looking at you. So maybe you want to hop over to the Polynesian and eat at Captain Cook's, which is a really, really good quick service location. What are some of your favorite places to go eat that aren't in the parks?
Number one, Sanaa, Kidani Village section of Animal Kingdom Lodge. It's just, it is beautiful theming. It is a fantastic location where you actually are, because you walk into the resort and you just look out over this giant expanse of, it seems like it just goes on forever and there's animals walking around, but the resort is like one level below that, so you are on the same ground level as the animals. And we've had these giant birds walk up to the windows that we were seated at. We've seen tortoises, and just, you never know what you're going to see when you're at Sanaa. You know you're going to get the bread service, because the bread service is the best thing I've ever eaten at Disney. Like, it's one of the top tier at Sanaa, the bread service. But you don't know what you're going to see. You don't know what's going to happen. It's just one of the best places. I ate at the Grand Floridian Cafe. I had the chicken there. It was pretty good. I mean, I liked that meal.
The Grand Floridian also has an underrated quick service location, Gasparilla's. And if you're at the Magic Kingdom and you don't want to do a quick service location in the Magic Kingdom, it would be a really fun way to get some energy out, to just walk over on the walkway to the Grand Floridian, mobile order from Gasparilla's. They have a really good veggie burger. They have some kids mac and cheese that I know your kids are going to love. But this is also something that you can do if you're not having a park day. Take a bus from Disney Springs over to the Grand Floridian, see the piano player in the lobby of the Grand, maybe go up to the Enchanted Rose bar and get a drink, and then mobile order from Gasparilla's. Some other really good resort restaurants are Sebastian's at Caribbean Beach. I think you'll love the atmosphere at Caribbean Beach, and Sebastian's, everybody seems to love it, especially if you like seafood. Topolino's at the Riviera, everybody seems to love this. It is one of the hardest reservations to get, especially for the breakfast. It is a character breakfast where you get Mickey, Minnie, Donald, and Daisy in special Riviera-inspired costumes. It's really, really great food, and the atmosphere is awesome. Plus, Topolino's is at the top. It's a pun both on Topolino means mouse in Italian, but it's also top.
Little mouse.
Yes, Jeff. Okay, it means little mouse in Italian, if we're going to be that specific. But it's also top because it is up there, and you can go out on the balcony after you're done eating and watch the Skyliner going over Caribbean Beach. You can see over to Animal Kingdom and see Expedition Everest. You can see a lot of different things throughout Walt Disney World from up there at that level. And you know what? Sometimes it's just fun to take the Skyliner over to Pop Century Resort and Art of Animation and just see some of the gigantic Roger Rabbits and the gigantic Jungle Book statues. And Jeff did mention this earlier when he was talking about Sanaa, but going over to Animal Kingdom Lodge and just checking out the savannah. You can look at all the animals on the savannah, and it can almost be like a free zoo. Actually, it's even more picturesque than a zoo. They're almost interacting with each other more than they would at any zoo that you're going to visit, and it is free. So all those things are things to take into consideration on your off day during a Walt Disney World vacation. I know Jeff and I got a little silly during this episode, but sometimes those are the most fun. And I tell you what, Jeff, I really appreciate you joining me for another episode. If people want to read your blog, where do they go?
Sure. Go to magicalpursuit.com. I am a official Disney cast member. And one of the things I thought in my head when I first got the job was that I really got the job because I
Jeff,
yeah.
It's an official Disney cast member. If you're going to correct my Italian, I'm going to correct your English.
Okay, Rick. What my goal was to help people. That's why I chose this job. That's why I chose to live at the biggest tourist destination in the world. So what I thought is that I want to do everything that Walt Disney World has to offer. I want to eat at every restaurant. I want to visit every attraction. I want to do all the little things like we talked about in this episode, the archery and the mini golf and all kinds of little things. I want to do it all because I want to help people. And when someone comes and goes, "What should I do? When can I when can I do this? What is the best food?" I have an answer for them. I don't just am just another person who, "Oh, I don't know, go do this." I want to give an honest answer of something that I've done. So I started the blog as kind of a journal of my trip through all of that. So magicalpursuit.com.
Awesome, Jeff. Thank you so much for joining me again.
You're quite welcome. I have such a good time, just shooting the breeze with you. It's a blast, and I hope I can come back soon.
We're going to move from one of my favorite people in the theme park community right into one of my other favorite people in the theme park community, Sarah from Seattle. Thanks for coming back on the show.
Thanks for having me. So I have a question for you. Since I know you as a pass holder got to experience it, how was the new Ratatouille ride?
Yeah, so recently I got to check out an annual pass holder preview of the brand new Remy's Ratatouille Adventure in Epcot's World Showcase. It's going in the back of the France Pavilion. It's going to open to regular guests on October 1st to coincide with Walt Disney World's 50th anniversary. But I did get the chance to check out this annual pass holder preview. First thing I'm going to say is I wasn't 100% surprised by the ride itself because I had watched walkthroughs of the version at Disneyland Paris. It's almost a carbon copy as far as the ride is concerned, but there are some different things going on in the queue, and I do think this is a really, really good addition to World Showcase. As somebody who has a young kid, like Sarah has one, there's not a whole lot to do in World Showcase if you have a kid. And even if there are some things to do there aren't a lot of rides. There's the Frozen ride and there's the boat ride in Mexico. Those are in pavilions that are right next to each other, right at the beginning or the end, depending on which way you start. So
Right.
This is putting another ride kind of in the middle of World Showcase. It's very family friendly. Everybody will enjoy this ride, from grandma to, the 5-year-old kid who's getting to ride it. I've heard a couple people have issues with motion sickness, but it is definitely not Star Tours or anything like that. I think this is really, really going to help balance out the crowds in World Showcase. At the beginning, it's going to be super packed. But as it's there for a few years, I think it's not going to be that big e-ticket attraction that's going to dominate and have huge, huge lines. I think it's just going to be another really solid ride at Epcot. And I think that's what the parks need more than e-ticket rides, is some of these second-tier rides that really help to balance out the crowds.
Yeah, definitely. It is definitely needed in World Showcase.
And while I was there, I was able to check out the new restaurant that opened in that same section. It's La Crêperie de Paris, I would imagine is how you pronounce it, but I do not speak French, so that is just my best guess. I got the prefix menu because I thought this would be a good way to try out everything they had to offer. The soup of the day was a creamy potato soup.
Ooh.
Yeah, exactly. That was fantastic. It really got me pumped for a good meal because it was creamy, but it wasn't salty. It just had all the flavors that you want without being, I use this term a lot, like theme park food. It definitely tasted like high-class restaurant soup.
Ooh, nice.
Then the second part of the menu is your savory crepe. And I am not a person who doesn't enjoy a good savory crepe. I do. One of my favorite theme park food options in any theme park at Universal Studios in Florida, they have a creperie, and you can get a savory vegan sausage crepe that is out of this world. So I am not 100% against savory crepes. I got the Ratatouille buckwheat crepe and boy, can you taste the buckwheat. I am not saying that our listeners will not enjoy this or shouldn't give it a try, because if you're into that kind of thing, I'm sure you really, really would like it. But buckwheat is a strong, strong flavor, and a lot of Americans aren't used to having their breading or their crepe be the predominant flavor, and it can be a little off-putting. The ratatouille itself on the inside was excellent. Disney makes a great ratatouille, so that was on point. But I think a lot of people are going to be turned off by the buckwheat in the crepe. Then we went over to the sweet crepe that was the dessert that came with the prefix menu, and I got the one with hazelnut chocolate spread and whipped cream. Can't say enough about it. It was perfect. Sweet without being too sweet. I would say, instead of sitting down and doing the prefix menu, if I was on vacation, I would just go up to the window and order some of the dessert crepes.
Oh, nice. Was it a regular crepe on the dessert crepe, or was it a special kind of crepe?
That is a good question. I am not a connoisseur of crepes. I don't know all the ins and outs of the
Like a
crepe
crepe.
world, but it tasted like most crepes I've had in the past. Like, it was good. It was a quality version of it, but there wasn't anything special. Like, this wasn't made out of buckwheat.
Okay, that's what I meant. It didn't have anything weird in it or anything different. It was just more of a regular crepe with stuff in it.
Absolutely. Yeah, that is the best descriptor I can find. I would definitely recommend trying this place out, especially if you're going to the window and just ordering a crepe. Just be prepared if you get the buckwheat that it's going to be a different type of flavor than you might be used to if you're used to eating in American restaurants. The other thing I'm going to say is the prefix menu was $33. It comes with super salad, one of the savory crepes, and one of the dessert crepes, plus either a hard cider, for those old enough to get hard ciders, a soda, or another beverage as well. So just letting you know what all is included in that prefix menu. It is definitely cheaper to get the prefix than to try to put together the entire thing, because the savory crepes are about $16.
Oh, wow. Yeah. I'd definitely get prefix if I'm going to pay that for one.
So thank you so much for joining me for this quick little discussion of Remy's Ratatouille Adventure, which is coming to Epcot's World Showcase on October 1st. Thank you, Sarah.
Thank you.
This has been episode 34 of Tall Guy Talks Travel with Rick Doherty. If all goes well, next week's show will be something extra special. The episode will debut the day before Walt Disney World officially turns 50 years old, and we will be paying tribute. Over the course of episodes 35 and 36, Marissa from Chicago will join me as we both list our 50 favorite things about Walt Disney World. This will include rides, shows, experiences, attractions, events, and more. My wife Courtney will also join me to discuss more items from Epcot's Food and Wine Festival. That next episode will hit the internet on Thursday, September 30th. Until then, have a great week.